Welcome to Eurosport's Formula One magazine. This week, a look at drivers' helmets. Sometimes a window on their personalities, but above all, an element of protection. Barrichello, Morbidelli, Panis, Bouillon, Herbert and Blundell reveal all about the colours and designs of their helmets. We're close up on a driver at the back of the field, Luca Badoer, the young talented Italian battling at the heart of the Minardi team, the 1992 Formula 3000 champion, confident about his future. Then a trip into the realms of computer fantasy, a short-length feature film produced by Peugeot. A look back at the 300th Grand Prix for the Ligier team at Manicourt with the founding team member. And a look also in the rear-view mirror at the last few British Grand Prix. But to start with, the return of Alain Prost to Formula One. Well, after Ayrton Senna's death last year, Prost said he would never again sit in a Formula One car, and we've been used to seeing him in civvies around the track. But here we've caught the four-times world champion back in his racing outfit. The reason? Well, at Silverstone last week, Alain Prost was back behind the wheel of a Williams, a nostalgic return in the car with which he won the 1993 World Championship. Most successful driver in history, 51 wins in 191 races and 4 world titles. Alain Prost has re-signed with Williams, but it was only a sales bill which was signed for the purchase by Prost of the FW15, in which he became world champion in '93. The chance was too good to miss, so he put some laps in as well.
Okay, gentlemen, if you can just clear the garage completely now.
And all this under the sun, that watchful eye of his young son. He did several laps in the company of the 1995 model Williams in the hands of Jules Bouillon. But Prost told us it was an emotional return at the wheel of his own open-wheeler just to see if it was in order.
My seats and my car, and that's the car I wanted to keep. I wanted to keep some cars when I was racing and had no opportunity. This car is very special for me because it's the last one I drove, and more than that, I won a championship with it, so it's very important to have I will have only one collection car, that's going to be this one.
Well, the French Grand Prix at Manicourt last week was the 300th for Ligier, and while the French team has had some transitional periods, one can say it's been a renaissance. So for the 300th Grand Prix for Ligier, we've been talking to the founding father of the Blues, Guy Ligier. Well, for me, it's been a lot of emotion over the years, he said, because when I created the team 20 years ago, I thought I had enough money only for 6 or 7 Grand Prix. After then it was 8, then it was 10. We kept reviewing the situation along the way. For me, it's fantastic. I want the team to be able to continue. I think they're on their way. I, of course, have got some great memories. All those memories have included 8 wins, 7 of them by Jacques Lafitte, 1 in 77, 3 in 79, 1 in 80, and 2 in 81. The other win going to Pironi in 1980. Well, the Grand Prix that Lafitte and Pironi won, well, they're perhaps the best. They're all fantastic memories, though. Well, now under Tom Walkinshaw and, of course, Martin Brundle, star driver, Ligier has seen nearly all France's Formula One drivers at one time or another behind the wheel. The cars are always called JS after Ligier's good friend Joe Schlesser, who was killed at Brands Hatch. He was an electric car builder originally, and the JS3 was his first car in 1971, a sports car. But one man who's always been around, Jacques Lafitte. Well, there's been a lot of drivers over the years. DJ told us that's normal with 300 Grand Prix. Today, all those drivers are here. We're going to celebrate all those years and make the most of our 300th anniversary. I've always had an extraordinary relationship with the drivers because I was always a driver myself. I raced for 30 years, motorbikes, cars, and I understand what drivers need. I've always put a lot of importance on the drivers. I hope that's clear.
J'ai toujours attaché, pour moi, énormément d'importance aux pilotes qui courent avec nous. Ça, c'est clair.
Well, it seems Ligier's had almost as many owners as rivals. Cyril de Rouvre took over the team in 1993. He was then arrested, and Flavio Briatore bought it in 1994. Now under Tom Walkinshaw and Tony Dow. Even though Ligier is now partly foreigner, and they still think of themselves as French. And in any case, Flavio Briatore, the new owner, is keen to follow the line of his predecessors. Guy Ligier continued, I think we've done some great things and we've also done some very bad things due to circumstances which I'm not going to go into in the space of a few minutes. But sure, I'd do the same thing all over again if I had another chance. I just hope the team can continue to grow and to flourish. Well, Jack Lafitte is now back as the team spokesman, and there's less and less difference today between the victorious Ligiers of the golden era and the 95 version. At the hands of Panis, Brundle and Suzuki, all that remains now is a 90s victory. Well, here's a man we normally only see being lapped at the back of the field, but of course everybody has to start one somewhere. And this is Minardi driver Luca Badar, one of the more private of the Formula One drivers. He's convinced the longest careers in the business are made by keeping out of the line of fire of the press. Instead, he makes his statements on the track. When 19 starts before Silverstone this weekend, the 24-year-old from Montevelluna in Italy started in karting in Formula 3. He became Formula 3000 champion in '92, his debut year, as Irving Goll, his manager, says.
But during the season, we prepare the driver for each race, for each circuit.
Luca dov'è adesso?
Luca is into here, yes. You want to talk with him?
We go to ask him?
Come on now, they want to make an interview with you. Really? Ah, come on.
Luca che racconta se stesso.
No, te l'ho detto prima, preferisco che...
Well, Luca's too shy to talk about himself, so we asked those close to him just what they think about the young man who won that 3000 championship in his debut year in '92, winning 4 races. '93, he's in Formula 1 with BMS Lola Ferrari. 12 races, best 7th in San Marino. He sat out last year as Minardi's test driver, but he's back now. We asked Pierluigi Martini how he feels about the man who's taken his seat.
Luca è un ragazzo che sta lavorando.
Luca, well, he's someone who works a lot. We have a good relationship. I hope he continues his career in Formula 1 and has a lot of fun doing it.
Correre in Formula 1, di divertirsi. Pierluigi Martini.
Mi trovo molto bene con lui.
We asked Luca how he feels about Pierluigi Martini. I get on well with him, he said, because we have more or less the same ideas about the car, and I should add, he is a very fast driver.
Giancarlo Minardi.
Minardi? Well, we get on okay, he says, because he's someone who attacks Formula 1 with a passion. And Minardi tells us, I think Luca's someone with an above average natural potential. He's been much criticised, but he's someone with who I have an excellent working relationship. Final word to Badua. I didn't pay them, I promise you. We're back with Eurosport with our Formula 1 magazine, and as everybody knows, crash helmets are there for protection. They're an indispensable security element. It's hard sometimes to figure out why the choice of colour and design. There's a relationship between drivers and their helmets. We took the chance to ask some of the Formula 1 drivers the secrets of why they have those colours on their helmets. We started with Rubens Barrichello.
Well, it's the most important thing for the driver, I think. You can see me here, talking and smiling, because I had a helmet when I went off in Imola. Well, I think the helmet, when you crash very hard, it has to crack a little bit, because it has to absorb the impact. So it's the most important thing. There is a friend called Walter Salas. He raced Formula 3 in England. Once he called me in the morning because he was stolen in Paris, and he said if I could give him a helmet for him to race. And since that time, he was, I think his best place was 6th on the European Championship. He put my helmet, he did pole position and finished 2nd on the race. So it was brilliant, He said, no, this is my helmet now, I don't change the colors. It was very funny. The helmets with me, I think, the only time that I changed it was in Brazil for the Senna colors. It was very nice. I still kept the helmet. I gave it one to the foundation, one to Sid. But I like my colors. I think I will keep it on until I can.
Giovanni Morbidelli told us about his. I've always been fascinated by helmets, he said. Even when I was young, I used to design helmets at school. There's some drivers currently using helmets which I designed, taking part in very high-level events. I created my own helmet myself with not a little patriotism, because I carry the Italian colours in it. With my favourite colour, blue, I added green, red and white. I'm very possessive of my helmets, very jealous. I mean, a helmet is one of a driver's most personal items. That's why I don't let anyone else touch it. I have to say I'm as attached to my helmet as I am to my girlfriend. What about Frenchman Olivier Panis? Well, I'm French, so I think it's normal that I carry French colours. The design was a little more complicated to find. There's lots of drivers in Formula 1 and they already have a lot of different designs. But finally I saw a helmet I liked. It was in a comic strip. Can't quite remember the name of it, but then I improved on the design myself. And Williams test driver Christophe Bouillon. Well, all the French drivers use the same colours, blue, white and red. Even if the design changes, the colours remain the same. It's a mixture of things, and mine, well, it's just the way it worked out. We're never short of a word or two. Britain's Johnny Herbert.
Well, the colours I just did because I wanted something that was bright and would actually stand out, and I find that if I'm at the very back, then you can see me anyway. So it's just something where the helmet can stand out. It's nice to have a good helmet, a nice shaped helmet, and the main thing is it has to be comfortable.
And another distinctive hat is that of Mark Blundell.
It's just my favourite colours, yellow, red and blue. So it's a design I did a few years ago and I've stuck with it ever since. The MB, that's for actually designed for people when they do photographs over the top, especially somewhere like here at Lowe's, just something different.
So the helmet, a little world in itself, into which only one man can venture. And to coin Jack Brabham's famous phrase, when the visor drops, the bullshit stops. where the major battle between Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell was continuing. The duel didn't last too long though. Mansell took the victory almost too easily after Senna dropped out of the race. It was there we witnessed the famous hitchhiking episode, immortalized in photographs, paintings and even models, a sign that real champions, while being at each other's throats in the race, have no trouble reconciling their differences on the finish line. Well, not all of them. Mansell carries Senna, but not to the podium, because it's Prost who makes it to second, followed by Berger. 92, and Mansell flying in front of his home crowd. Again, Senna pulls out, and the mustachioed driver from the Isle of Man is in his element. He powers through the race and forges across the finish line on his way to becoming 1992 world champion. Mansell is completely overwhelmed by the adulation of his public, and the legend is born of Red 5. A magical number for British supporters, and to add to national pride, another Briton on the podium, Martin Brundle in a Benetton, third behind Riccardo Patrese. But 1 year later, Mansell's defected to IndyCar, and it's Alain Prost who replaces him at the head of the pack. He leads from start to finish, and it's here we understand the real symbolism of Prost's laps at Silverstone last week in this car. Well, another unfortunate episode for McLaren and for Ayrton Senna, with yet again the Brazilian champion abandoning the race. Prost on the top step of the podium, ahead of the drivers of the now strengthening Benetton team. Schumacher second ahead of teammate Riccardo Patrese. Well, last year saw a profound change in race trends as well as in the track. After the era of Williams, it was the era of Schumacher, the turning point, 94. He takes second to Hill, but is black flagged for passing Pullman Hill on the warm-up lap. Benetton didn't take the penalty into account. Wasn't 10 seconds off the total time, but stop and go. Schumacher doesn't stop because he's no orders to do so from the pits. Briatore is fuming, and for Benetton the damage is done. Schumacher is disqualified and banned from 2 more races. So Damon Hill takes the victory. Jean Alesi gets himself third place. But the season suffers the consequences of this, what could be called a diplomatic incident at Silverstone. Schumacher was relegated and then suspended. Well, this year all that remains is a vague memory, and the battle for victory this weekend is what everybody's now watching, between Schumacher and Hill. Well, you can follow the action, of course, on Eurosport. Now, this is important. Tickets are completely sold out for Sunday, all 90,000, so don't go on Sunday if you haven't got a ticket. Tickets are available Friday and Saturday for qualifying, but unless you have a ticket, stay away Sunday. Watch it on Eurosport. We, of course, are live 1300, 1 o'clock British time, Friday and Saturday qualifying, and the race at 1400, 2 o'clock on Sunday, also British time. But don't go there if you've no ticket. We all know now that computer-generated images are becoming the norm in the car industry, but the French manufacturer Peugeot has gone one step beyond into virtual reality. This mini-film is based on the Peugeot V10, which Jordan are using around the track this weekend. Well, while that's going on, let's just have a quick look at the other Formula One news, a war of words between Schumacher and Hill this week, threatening to eclipse the Prost-Senna feud of 89 and 90. After the 94 affairs, which ended with the controversial collision in Adelaide and Schumacher as champion, it started again 2 weeks ago at Manicure. Hill gave me a brake test, claimed Shuey. The next time I'll know what to do, threatening to take retaliatory action at Silverstone. Well, Hill responded this week in Britain's Radio Times, calling Shuey a clone, a product of his sponsors. Sponsors are controlling the characters, and all they'll get are clones. He's a product rather than a person. I don't say hello if I can help it. Schumacher hit back again, talking in Germany's Sport Bild yesterday, agreeing one day you can talk to him, the next he'll walk past me as I'm in thin air. He seems to be very moody. I find it hard to get on with moody people. He does not have #1 status at Williams. It seems he has problems with all that. Well, nonetheless, the two of them on Friday were only 200th of a second apart at the end of a week of testing on their home circuit. Schumacher looks like to stay at Benetton at the end of 1995. I want a competitive car, and that's not the case with McLaren Mercedes, he says, answering rumours he'd moved to McLaren. I've never said I'd not race a Benetton in 1996, he added. Benetton has learned to put its #1 driver first in the world title race. In our team, he said pointedly, drivers don't take points off each other. Well, Ferrari chief Luca de Montezemolo said he believes Schumacher will stay with Benetton, but it's too early to decide who's going to drive for Scuderia Ferrari. Both driver contracts finished this year, but Montezemolo added, I'm very pleased with Berger and Alesi. Well, the Minardi dispute with Tom Walkinshaw's Grand Prix engineering company has finished. Ligier and Mugen Honda involved as well. That's all over after publicly exploding at Manicourt when the French court impounded Minardi's car and transporter. Minardi eventually ran in the French Grand Prix, but the $700,000 dispute ran on till this week when settlement was reached out of court. All parties have agreed the terms will remain confidential. And finally, twin races. In 1996, Flavia Briatores proposed 2 races. Twin races at 1996 Grand Prix, giving 2 starts for the price of 1 to enliven the action, also to give first race retirements the chance to race in the second. Both Bernie Ecclestone and Damon Hill have derided the plan. In Formula 1, the race starts when the lights go green, says Ecclestone, and finishes when the flag drops, and that's it. That's what he told the Times yesterday. Grand Prix racing is a tradition like Wimbledon tennis or a Lord's Test match. Hill suggested if the racing's not exciting over 70 laps, it's not going to be any more exciting over 2 sets of 35 laps. 6 out of 10 races might be dull, but you can't have the best of everything all the time. We're going to see all the action this weekend at Silverstone. So make sure if you're not there, you see it all on Eurosport with Ben Edwards and John Watson. This has been Mark Hill. This has been Formula 1 Magazine. Enjoy the rest of the Peugeot clip. See you soon.
Get up.